I'm sitting here in front of the Rockefeller Memorial Carillon at the University of Chicago. This is the second largest carillon in the world, with 100 tons of bells, 72 bells in total. We have 6 full octaves of bells, but carillons come in all shapes and sizes, anywhere from just 2 octaves up to 6 octaves. A carillon is an instrument in a bell tower. We're about 180 feet off the ground right now. And we can play all the bells manually from this keyboard. So the keyboard is kind of like a giant piano in that we have a fully chromatic set of keys. There's one key for each bell. Rather than playing with our fingers traditionally, we play with our fists as carillonneurs. And when I move a key with my fist, I'm actually moving this wire here. The wire goes up to a clapper that will move closer to a bell. It's an entirely mechanical instrument. There's no electronics here or pneumatics. It's just the weight of the force that I'm putting into the key is the strike that's going against the bell. So if I move the key all the way down, then we can hear the clapper strike the bell, and everybody outside on campus at the University of Chicago just heard that. So it's quite fun to have that much control over everybody's sound experience outside. As we go up the keyboard, we get to smaller and smaller bells, fully chromatic, going all the way up to the very tiniest bell. That bell only weighs 10 pounds, it's about this big, and it's higher in pitch than the highest note on a piano. So we have a lot of very small bells. The bells on the very top of the keyboard are quite light and easy to play, but as we move towards the bass bells, these bells get much heavier, because as the bells are bigger, the clappers that strike them also get bigger and heavier. The biggest clapper on the very big bell weighs about 800 pounds, and the bell itself weighs 18.5 tons, 37,000 pounds. So we have a 37,000 pound bell, a 10-pound bell, and everything in between. For the heavier bells, we actually more often play with our feet. We have a pedal board down here. The pedal board connects directly to the manual. So you can see as I move my 2 feet on these keys, I'm actually physically moving keys corresponding on the manual keyboard. So I can choose to play this note. This is middle C on the keyboard. I can choose to play that note with my hand or with my foot. It's the same thing. You might notice that actually does not sound like middle C. It actually is sounding an A-flat bell. This carillon transposes down a major third. So when we play music written in the key of C, we're actually playing the key of A-flat. Every carillon transposes differently. Up an octave, down a major third, down a fourth, up a sixth. The transposition is different depending on the height of the tower. Bigger bells are more expensive, so when carillons are commissioned, if there's a lot of money to build the instrument, the carillon might transpose down to make it a more impressive sound. So carillonneurs play with 2 hands and 2 feet. Because it's an entirely mechanical keyboard, we have a large amount of control over the sound that we produce. We can play with dynamics very softly, very quietly, or very loud, depending on the touch that we give to the key, like a piano. So if I move my foot on this pedal key right here, if I play it very quietly, very softly, it'll make a soft sound. I can hear that, but you might not be able to hear that in the recording. I can play a little bit louder. Or I can crescendo and play quite loud. So there's a really large dynamic range. We can play so soft that nobody outside is actually going to hear the note, or loud enough that we might startle somebody walking down the street. So it's a lot of control over the dynamics and the expression, just based on the touch that we give to the instrument. And we play with 2 hands and 2 feet and can play all kinds of music. We play music written for the bells, compositions, new music for carillon, as well as arrangements of classical music, pop music, film music, jazz. Because it's such a public instrument, everybody outside has no choice but to listen to us. We try to play music that appeals to everybody in the community. But to give you a few other pointers on composing for the carillon, the instrument is quite unique in terms of its overtones or its partials. So most instruments have a more traditional harmonic series. The carillon has a very strange but unique minor third overtone. Bells have minor third overtones that make them quite distinct from other instruments. If I play this bell, this low C bell, the overtones present in that bell are actually, the first one is a minor third above that C, so an E flat, and then a fifth, and an octave, and then continuing partials up from there. So by playing just that one bell, we hear a minor chord in that bell, which makes playing minor chords pretty effective. They sound relatively in tune. It actually makes playing diminished chords really very in tune, as the diminished chord is just a series of minor thirds. If we were to play major chords in the bass, they would sound a little bit less in tune. But as we go up the keyboard, the overtones or the partials become less prominent. So the biggest bells have the strongest overtones, which makes them richer sounding, fuller sounding, for better or worse. If we do want to play a major chord, we often fare better by spreading out the notes throughout the keyboard. Rather than playing a C, E, G in the bass, I can instead play a C, G, E. That sounds a little bit more pleasant as the notes are further apart. It's not quite as muddy. And the overtones of this E bell up here are not as strong as the octave below. Yeah. Though we traditionally play with fists, we can also play with open hands. And so by opening up our hand to play with a claw shape, we can actually play 2 notes at once by striking kind of like this. It's possible for carillonneurs to play up to a fourth with an open hand, or a major third between the chromatics and the naturals. We can't play more than 2 notes with an open hand. We can play 3 notes, we can play 4 notes, and then with 2 hands we can play a lot of notes. So we are able to play lots of notes at once if we change our technique a little bit, but we can't stretch more than a fourth. Similarly with stretching, it's quite difficult to play with 6 octaves, to play the lowest note and the highest note at the same time. If I were to try to do that, I would be playing almost horizontally. So we don't usually do that. Keeping music within 3 or 4 octaves of the lowest note and the highest note, the hands to the pedals, is usually a good idea. Similarly, when we try to play with 2 hands pretty far apart, that can be quite challenging as our hands are moving really far apart, and it's hard to, with our vision, keep an eye on where exactly we are on the keyboard, because the keyboard is much larger than a piano. So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, and so I think I'll just play you a piece of music so you can hear what it sounds like. This is called Invocation. This is a piece that I wrote 2 years ago for the 50th anniversary of the Yale University Carillon. So that's a piece of music written for the Carillon. It's a lot of fun to play. The instruments, yeah, it's just a really great instrument to play. One other thing that I forgot to mention earlier, property of bells that maybe is more intuitive. Once we ring a bell, there's no way to actually silence the sound. Once the note is played, the bell's going to keep ringing until the sound dies. There's no way to actually mute the sound. Like on a piano, you take your finger off and the sound stops. On a Carillon, all the notes just keep ringing. So we take that into consideration when we're writing for Carillon, arranging for Carillon, and how we perform each piece as a performer. The absolute best way to continue learning about the Carillon and learn more about how to compose for the Carillon, I would suggest finding a Carillionaire, a local Carillionaire, to take you up their tower. Every Carillon is unique, and it's really helpful to see the instrument in person, of course. Carillionaires are very excited about working with composers and commissioning new music for the instruments. So we're really excited about some new possibilities and new repertoire for the instrument. So thank you for watching. Thank you for checking out this article on NewMusicBox. I'm Brink at the University of Chicago. Thank you.